So, know this. Killing is my business, ladies, and business is good.
So the next build we're going to look at is Pistol Whip. Pistol Whip is a crit-based spiking build, meaning you're going to be bringing your target down from 100% to 0 in less than 10 seconds. The main skill that Pistol Whip is going to use is the namesake Pistol Whip, which is sword main hand, pistol offhand. Pistol Whip by default, it essentially is a long cast animation where you just attack 9 times. By average, with a couple crits, you're going to be doing about 4k worth of damage. Overall, it's a really nice build. It's one of my favorite that I play. It fits my playstyle perfectly fine. Since Pistol Whip does have a long cool animation, you supplement that with haste, which makes your duration, which makes your animations really fast, about twice as fast. So I'm going to show it off what happens when you actually do this build. And you attack really fast like that, and your target's usually dead. And so what's the positives and negatives about this build? The positives are you attack your target really fast. You don't really give them a chance to react because Pistol Whip by default has a half-second stun, so usually you're going to interrupt most of their defensive actions with just casting Pistol Whip, and as well as it's probably the fastest way to kill a target for the thief right now. The negatives, you are really reliant on haste. Otherwise, like I said, the cooldown or the animation for Pistol Whip is really long, so you need to have haste. With Pistol Whip without haste, it does not work out too well because people can just easily walk out of the field of attack, so to speak. So if you're caught with haste on cooldown, you really have no viability. But however, so if you're a type of person that likes to run around and usually engage in one-on-one fights, really small scale fights, spread out, this is the perfect build for you to try. It's it definitely I give it a 2 thumbs up. And yeah, so the build is actually posted on my video channel, so you can check that one out and let me know what you guys think about this one. The next build we're going to look at is the infamous backstab build. This build primarily relies on using steel, cloak and dagger, and the backstab auto attack that you get when you're in stealth. This build, just like the Pistol Whip build, is what I consider a spiking build. You will bring down a target from 100 to 0 in less than 10 seconds. The difference between this one and the Pistol Whip build is that this is very positional. You need to be behind your target and do max damage. So if you're the type of person like me where you're not too good at getting behind the target fast enough, and you're susceptible to lag and whatnot, I would suggest using Pistol Whip over backstab. But again, if you are perfectly okay with getting into position, then this build is definitely better than your Pistol Whip build. Another positive from this and Pistol Whip is that whereas Pistol Whip you gotta rely heavily on haste, there is really no big cooldown skill that you're relying on with backstab. The only drawback is, like I said, the positional requirement for backstab. The next build we're going to look at is the Heartseeker build. It is actually very similar to the backstab build. The only difference is one trait. With the backstab build, you take Hidden Killer, which is 100% critical chance while in stealth. For the Heartseeker build, you essentially replace Hidden Thief with Executioner, which is deal extra 20% damage when target is below 50% health. That is pretty much the only big difference between Heartseeker and backstab. There are other trait requirements, but essentially that's the big difference between it. Just like Heartseeker, you're essentially just doing the same. Just like backstab, you're doing the same thing. You're attacking target, but with this one, you essentially wait till your target is 50% health and you just spam Heartseeker over and over again for a massive amount of damage. You don't see this one as much because of the Heartseeker nerf that occurred a couple months ago. but nonetheless you will see it once in a blue moon. Well, Thieves will want it. It's a pretty good build. I don't like it as much because you don't have much defensive capabilities, and you don't really have the surprise factor of backstab. So this is probably one of my least favorite builds out there nowadays. So the next build I want to look at is the sword dagger build. This one's a build primarily relying on stealth based skills, especially cloak and dagger, and then your tactical strike, which is your auto attack that you get from stealth. This build, it's a crit based build. The only difference between this build and the other crit based builds is that this is more of a sustained DPS build that relies primarily around the idea of daze that you get from tactical strike. It's a really nice build if you want somewhat defensive capabilities, because daze essentially makes it so that your target can't cast skills. So you shut down your target for about every 2 seconds out of 3 in a fight, because you can go in and out of stealth for 3 seconds, so that essentially you allow your target to have 1 second of attack time. Overall, compared to spiking builds, like I said, it's a much slower pace. You're not going to kill your target as fast because you're relying on your stealth. A positive for this build is that it has a lot of condition removal, because every time you go into stealth you lose a condition. It has a lot of defensive capabilities because of stealth, it's, inherent nature of stealth. But again, it's a little slow build for killing targets. So if you're into that stealth play, I would highly recommend this build. But if you are much more of a fast-paced, fast action kind of player, then this build is probably enough for you. So the last build that we're going to look at is the bleed build, which is my favorite Guild Wars 2 thief build that is up to date. The bleed build is primarily based on double daggers, and its skill Death Blossom. Death Blossom is an evasive skill, meaning you dodge all attacks while you do the skill, and it essentially puts 3 stacks of bleeding that last 10 seconds in an AoE around you. So it's really nice. It has a lot of defensive capabilities because you are constantly dodging, constantly evading attacks, as well as it's a condition-based build, so it bypasses defense. It really doesn't matter how much toughness that they have; you're still going to be doing the same amount of damage. It's not all, there are negatives about the build. The negatives are you're not going to be killing a target as fast as you can compared to a spiking build. It's rather slow and methodical. As well as the biggest negative is that conditions have a global limit. For bleeding, it's 25 stacks. So this 25 stacks is shared by all players on the same target. So if I put 25 stacks of bleeding, anybody else that tries to put stacks of bleeding don't really get to reapply that 25 stacks. Instead, they had to share that same pool. So because of this, when you're fighting bosses and whatnot, especially like if you're doing the dragon bosses in the zones, you're not going to be doing that much damage. You're probably going to maybe do 1 stack of bleeding every time you apply it. So for this reason, I don't like doing PvE with it. I'm a huge World vs. World fan of it. But overall, for my playstyle, I enjoy the defensive capabilities of this build over its negative outcomes. So this is probably one of my, I would definitely recommend this if you're a solo player, and if if you're running around in like 1 or 2 groups, this is probably the best build for you to try out. So hopefully that kind of gave you guys an understanding of how each of the builds play. If I missed any of the builds, leave it in the comments and I will kind of analyze them, and maybe I'll do like another version of this. Overall, I'm a huge fan of the Thief class. So if you guys are looking for a very versatile class, I would suggest trying out the Thief. And let me know what you guys think about this video. Leave comments, suggestions, etc. in the comment section. And if you like this, subscribe and like the video, and hopefully I'll see you guys in the battlefield.